Hello. I picked the call, still yawning. I checked the time and the clock had just hit 11 a.m. in the morning. Who dared to spoil my beauty sleep on Sunday? I just hope he or she has some valid reason for doing so. Eva, come to the pack house as soon as possible. I have sent one of our drivers to pick you up from your address. My stepmother's voice boomed from the other side of the phone. I abruptly jumped from the bed hearing her tensed voice. Is Mr. William all right? I asked, thinking about the worst-case scenario, because she had called me for the first time in my entire life. I know I was angry with my father for leaving my mother for another she-wolf, but that didn't mean I didn't care about him. I stopped. Yeah. You read it right. I don't acknowledge my father as Dad, but by his last name I stopped calling him Dad from the day my mother died. He is but not for long, so better hurry up. With those words the call ended from the other side. I quickly started packing a few of my clothes and ran toward the washroom to freshen up. Moon Goddess, please keep him and everyone safe. I prayed silently. Sudda lapin. After 2 hours, coming back to the pack where I was born after 17 years was really a nice feeling. Pack. The word sounds so foreign to me, especially when there was no one there who liked a weak human. But I stopped feeling sad long ago because I learned to be satisfied with my life. I'm a martial art trainer, and I am no longer dependent on Mr. William. Coming back to reality, I took a look around. I could see that not many things had changed in these years. Still, I could see disgust and hatred in a few people's eyes. I enter Mr. Williams' house, a place where I have some of my memories with my mother. My relationship with Mr. William, his mate, and their daughter is far from good. My stepmother and half-sister hate me from the bottom of their heart, and Mr. Williams calls me once a week to know about my well-being. It is a different thing that I disconnect his call whenever my phone rings to hint him that I am still alive. The closer I was walking toward the hall, the louder I could hear the voice of a man. I wondered, what could be the reason behind it? Such big deceit. From the beginning, I can see that your stupid daughter was not happy with the idea of marrying me, but I thought that she is taking her time to adjust to the sudden change in her life. I and my family trusted you, and look what result we got. Do you think my and my family's reputation is a joke to you? Do you have any idea that our reputation is going to be shattered after this incident? Everyone will laugh at me by saying that I went to get with an alpha daughter, but got married to a weak human instead. He roared, who also happens to be an alpha's daughter. My stepmother said. I gasped after acknowledging this piece of information. Now, I realized why I was called on such short notice. I shook my head, thinking of all the ways to run away from here, that too ASAP. And she is already here, she added. Oh no, they might have sensed my presence. I tried to walk backward and felt my body getting hit by something hard. When did the wall come to this place? I thought and looked behind me, only to find 4 guards standing there, folding their arms against their chest. I gulped my saliva nervously, knowing that now I could only walk toward the living room. The moment I stepped in, my eyes landed on a young man. No, not just handsome but deadly handsome. With his 6 feet height, broad shoulders, well-muscled chest, flat stomach, and long legs, he definitely has got a body to charm any girl and woman. His well-sculpted face, strong jawline, and sharp nose, and silky black hair were enough to make anyone drool over him. But what struck me the most were his brown eyes, which were getting changed every moment. He looked at me, and his eyes showed surprise. We would have continued with our staring session, for God knows how long, but we were distracted by Mr. Williams' voice. Eva, this is Alpha Daniel Grint of Stone Moon Pack, and Alpha Daniel, she is my elder daughter, Evangeline. I was now able to compose myself. He also came out of his thoughts. When he heard my introduction, he looked shocked. Well, that's nothing new. Everyone finds it shocking when they come to know that being an alpha's daughter, I am still a human. Fine, I will marry her, he said, looking at me. Silence. No one said anything. Why would they? Isn't this the plan they had made for me? I was not able to say anything for a while. I was still comprehending his sentence and the earlier conversation. Why did Alina run away from her own wedding? She was getting married to her mate. Right? Now, she is not here. I was chosen as her substitute. No way. I am not going to marry this alpha or any. Instead, I want to fall in love with a human and stay away from these dogs who have no respect for humans. No doubt, he is marrying me for his benefit. Otherwise, who would want to marry a human just like that? He met me just now. He didn't know my name until a few minutes ago. Oh yeah, he didn't want to marry me just like that. But because to save his and his family reputation, how could he think something as ridiculous as this? Alina is his mate, not me. Then, how come he could think of marrying someone else who is not his mate? In between all this, he not even once asked my opinion, just like my so-called family. Why would he even ask after all? He wants to marry me only for the sake of his reputation, but I'm not going to listen to anyone. This is my life, and no one can take this decision of mine without my consent. I'm not a weak and dependent woman. I agree he had looked to die for, but for me, I could see my future crystal clear. He would throw me out of his life. Once his mate would be back. But I don't want to marry you. I finally found my voice after thinking all the things in my mind, and I am leaving because there is no marriage here. I added firmly. Daniel looked at me. To say he was shocked was an understatement. What did he expect? Does only an alpha have the right to reject a human? Sorry, but no sorry. I'm not someone who is dying to marry an alpha. I am not one of those girls who want to be Luna and will grab the opportunity of marrying an alpha. I am the queen of my kingdom, the kingdom which I made for myself. I handle my things on my own. I don't want an alpha for that. I'm no damsel in distress. Are you refusing to marry me? His tone was unsteady. Yes, I am. His eyes showed hurt. Maybe his ego was hurt that a weak human was rejecting him. Now, why am I feeling bad for hurting him? It's not like I'm rejecting my mate. Mate, could it be possible that he is my mate? No, that's not possible. If this had been so, then he wouldn't have agreed to marry my sister in the first place. Then why is there an uneasy feeling surrounding my heart, making me feel guilty? And do you know what will be the outcome of your rejection? His tone came as a threatening one. He started walking toward me, staring at me all the while. I will destroy everything you love, he said, looking directly into my eyes. I shook my head and looked at him in disbelief. Are you blackmailing me? As a matter of fact, yes, you are going to marry me today itself, so better go and dress up to become my last-minute bride. No way! I was about to leave, but he held my hand and stopped me. His touch did something strange. I felt a spark run all over my body and felt tingling sensations. What the hell is that feeling? I was sure he also felt the same, because he was staring at me like I was an alien. But soon he came out of it and smirked. His eyes were now mischievous sparks. I don't like when people don't obey me, and I don't like when people order me. With that, I freed my hand from his grip and glared at him. Fine then, the choice is all yours. If no marriage is going to happen today, then obviously a war will be. You have 10 minutes to decide what you want, he said to Mr. Williams, leaving from there with his 4 minions. Number TBC. I never believed in mates and mate bonds, nor had I thought that it would have such a great impact on me. Just after the first meeting, I was so mad and angry for everything that this family did to me. And after all this, they had the guts to offer me to marry a human. Seriously. I was taking out my anger on them. That is when I smelt a scent that made me weak for a while. I wanted to stop shouting at them and start looking for that scent. But then my ego went against that decision of mine. I mind-linked my guards to make sure to bring everyone near to living instantly, because both I and my wolf were feeling restless. He was pacing in me and desperately wanted to get free. He had sensed someone, and it was the first time he was acting this way. Soon, the scent was getting stronger, and it took me a second to control my urges. I was feeling desperate. I wanted something or someone. All I knew was that I wanted to see the person behind this smell. And that's when my eyes landed on her. Her perfect body, long hair, and pretty face could make anyone crazy. Her hair was tied in a messy bun with a few curls over her face. They looked so silky that I started having an urge to touch them. Her blue eyes showed so much innocence at the same time. The moment our eyes met, it realized something that should have been realized a lot sooner than this. "Mate," my wolf shouted loudly in my mind. I was not sure how to react to it, but one thing was sure, that I was shocked beyond the statement. Finding my mate was the last thing in my mind. Not to forget, my mate was a weak human. You can't call her weak without knowing anything about her. My wolf defended her. And here it goes. My wolf has already become a lovesick puppy after finding out our mate. That's why I hate mate bond. It makes a lion behave like a kitten. And above all, choosing a human mate was like falling for the lamb. That too being a lion. Damn it. My breathing was hard, and my chest puffed up and down as I continued to stare at her. I have had a trust issue from the very beginning. That's why I had appointed one of my spies in the Alpha Williams's pack to keep me updated about all the things which were going on there. I never want to marry anyone, mate or not, but then, as an alpha, I need to strengthen my pack. And for that, my aunt came up with the plan of marrying another alpha's daughter. I refused at first, but then she made me swear her life, and I was kind of forced to marry that stupid she-wolf, Alina, who is the younger sister of my mate, a fact that I learned a few minutes ago. I had made it clear to Alina to not keep any expectations from me by writing her a letter, because I didn't find it important to meet her after knowing how annoying and irritating she was. I also explained in the letter that she would get money and all the stuff, but she wouldn't have any right to my life. And today, my spy informed me in the morning about what all happened. I became furious. Not just because of that stupid alpha daughter, but because someone tried to cheat me and my family by tormenting our family status, and no one dares to mess with Daniel Grint. I have a status to maintain, and my so-called bride running away on the day of the wedding was still a big thing. Though I was internally relieved to get freed from all this marriage thing, still I needed to teach this family a lesson. But all my plans to teach them a lesson changed after spotting my mate. I found her looking at me adoringly. Well, I had a body to die for, so I didn't blame her, but unlike other girls, she was not looking downwards but was looking into my eyes like she was able to read all my thoughts by looking in them. I was still dumbfounded. When I got to know that she was the elder daughter of this family, I was shocked again. I remembered them telling me about the fact that they had an elder daughter, but never did they mention her being a human. Moreover, even they would have I never paid any attention to it, as I was not interested in this stuff. Never in my dreams had I thought that she could be my mate. My wolf was asking me to say yes for the wedding, for his sake, but I didn't want to lie to him. I was going to say yes, because I even wanted her to make mine. That's when I agreed to the marriage without talking with her about it. I knew that I should have asked her and talked with her about it. But then my ego came in front of that thinking, and I went along with my ego. I thought that she would happily agree because I was sure that she was attracted to me. Her eyes said it all, and I am the alpha Daniel Grint. I have everything that any girl looks for in their mate. Looks, fame, money. What else does a girl need in her mate? No girl in her right state of mind could reject me. But her no was a big shock for me. My wolf whimpered thinking that she rejected us. I asked her again to confirm, but she said those words again. I was hurt. And when she saw my eyes, her face softened. How can this girl make me feel weak? I'm known among the strongest alphas in the entire world, but her denial made me feel sad. And my wolf whimpered in no time. But no one can say no to me. She has to say marry me, either willing or unwilling, because there is no way I am letting her go. As the idea of her in the arms of someone else doesn't settle well in my mind. That's why I threatened her, and a part of me knew that this would work. I left from there, giving her the time of 10 minutes. But the entire time, my ears were on their conversation. You don't have to say yes for this marriage, princess. I will face the consequences of the deed which Alina did. Alpha William said. Oh, just shut up! I heard the sound of Luna Catherine. Eva Alpha Daniel will destroy everything you love, which includes all the memories of your mother as well, which you have with you in this pack. Do you want that to happen? Also, I apologize for everything that I and Aileen did to you, but please say yes to this marriage, because I can agree that maybe your father was never a good mate for your mother. But you can't deny the fact that he was always there for you whether you wanted him or not. So, it's your time to fulfill the duty of a daughter. Stop blackmailing her, Kat. I didn't do anything for her with the expectation of asking such a big favor from her. Alpha Williams said, and after a while both started arguing like an animal. While they kept arguing, I smelt the scent of my mate getting stronger. It means she was coming toward me. I agree to marry you, she said, while her face avoiding any emotion. You are really agreeing to the marriage? I asked again because I couldn't believe my ears. Yes, she replied with her voice low. I nodded my head, giving her a normal expression, but deep down both I and my wolf were dancing and jumping in joy. I was thanking Alina for running away. Great. I hope. She started leaving from there without listening to what I was going to say. I held her wrist and yanked her toward me. I hate when someone neglects me and doesn't listen to me, I whispered angrily. I knew I was hurting her, but I still couldn't control my anger when I felt neglected by her. TSK Daniel, I am going to be your mate, your equal, not your slave, so better learn to behave properly. She hissed and used all her strength to push me away, and I was surprised to see her success. Her eyes were full of tears, but she didn't let them fall down her eyes and was glaring at me. She rubbed her hand and tried to leave from there again. You are not allowed to go out until our wedding. Why? What if you run away? When your younger sister can betray me then, how can I believe you that you will keep your words? I spat back. She tapped her foot on the floor while gritting her teeth. Fine, she said angrily, and walked inside the house. You made her mad. My wolf said in a sad tone. I can't help it. I can't trust her, at least not without knowing her. I explained, on which he didn't say anything in return. Alpha Williams' point of view. I knocked on the door, and it was opened to my surprise. As I entered, I saw Eva holding her mother's photo frame in her hand. Eva! I called her name to gain her attention. Yes, Mr. Williams, she answered, looking toward me. My heart ached after listening to her formal greeting. I just hoped to hear Dad from her mouth someday. Princess, you don't have to do it. I know how much you hate our clan, and now you are going to marry the one. I don't want to talk about anything on this topic, she said, placing her mother's photo frame in its place. Here, I said, forwarding her mother's diary to her, which Clara asked me to hand over to Eva in case she decides to stay in the pack. I had no idea what she had left for our daughter in it. What's this? She asked, taking the diary from my hand. It's Mom's handwriting, she added, checking a few of its pages. Your mother asked me to give it to you when the right time comes, and I think it's the right time. Do you know what she had written in it? Number. I didn't read anything. She nodded her head and whispered, "Thank you," in a low tone. Can you tell me why Alina ran away from her own wedding leaving her mate? She asked. I was about to clear her confusion about Alpha Daniel not being Alina's mate. That's when I felt Alpha Daniel's presence near the room. I turned around and saw him standing at the door. If you don't mind Alpha Williams, then can I speak to her in private? He asked. To which my eyes widened. When did he start taking permission? I looked at Eva and she nodded. So, I left her room. Number TBC. He came in and sat across me, and then he did something unthinkable. I am sorry, he said in a low tone, barely audible. Pardon, please. I can't hear you properly. I am very well aware that you heard me, he said in his old arrogant tone. And I am not going to repeat myself, he added. Whatever, I muttered and was about to walk out but stopped by him, blocking my way. What now? I asked, getting slightly irritated. Don't you dare to run from this wedding just like your sister, he ordered. Who is he to order me? Listen, Mr. Arrogant, I am not your slave who will follow your order meekly. I spat. I know you're not, but you will have to follow my orders. He growled and took a step forward while I moved backward. This continued until my back hit the wall. He placed both of his hands on either side of the wall so that I couldn't move. I could feel his hot and minty breath and tried to act as bold as I could. You are going to my wife, so better behave like one from now on, he said while his right hand moved the hair that covered my face behind my ear. Exactly your wife, not your mate. I am going to be just your wife, whom you will easily kick out of your life after finding your mate just like you werewolves do. I hissed, pushing him away. I saw him opening his mouth to say something, but he decided against it. He stared at me for a while before leaving my room. I placed my hand over my heart, which was pounding loudly. I was trying hard to keep myself calm, but couldn't. Why? Was that so? I was mad at him for his arrogant behavior. Still, I couldn't stay mad at him. I knew it might sound clingy, but I felt I had known him for years. As if there were some bonds between us. Okay, now cut the crap. It was going too far. I ran my eyes back to my bed where my mom's diary was. I walked toward my bed and picked the diary. I softly touched it with a small smile on my face. After all, this diary had memories of my mother's memories. I opened the first page and could see my name in her handwriting. For my princess, Evangeline. Dear Eva, if you are reading this, then I believe either you are getting married to some werewolf or you have decided to stay in the pack. And I can guess the answer will be the first one, most probably. I always knew that you can't stay away from your destiny, and I hate to tell you that your destiny belongs here, between the werewolves. I furrowed my eyebrow after reading that sentence, wondering why Mom would have written that. Don't get confused, my child. There are so many things that I want to share with you, but I can't. At least not at this phase, because you are too small to understand things. But now that you are reading this diary, I am sure that you are a grown-up woman. First of all, I want you to forgive your father for the things he did to me because I knew he didn't ditch me intentionally. We both were forced into the marriage for the sake of our packs, but we had cleared the fact to one another at the very beginning that one will not stop the other, if he or she finds their mates. So, I would have done the same which your father had done, if I would have found my mate again. Again, what does she mean by that? I wondered. I touched the paper where my mom had written this, and by touching it, I could tell that she was crying while writing this. I have never shared this with anyone before, but with this diary that I had found my mate. I gasped when I read that. I was clearly not expecting that to read this fact. But he was killed in a rogue attack. My wolf couldn't bear the loss of her mate, and even she left me along with him. I reread everything twice or say thrice. My wolf. Does that mean that Mom was not a human, but a werewolf? Oh, my God, why didn't she share this with anyone before? A lot of questions started filling in my mind, but I had no answer to those questions until now. That's why I started reading what else was written in the diary. All this happened before my wedding with your father. I wanted to share this with him, but by the time I could have gotten comfortable with him, he had already found his mate, and by that time he was not just my husband. So, I never got a chance to share this with him. You are a very special child, Eva. That's the reason. I kept you away from the packs and the werewolves when you were a kid, and one incident made you hate them, which worked in my benefit for that period. But now I want to clear this. Everyone, including you, might consider yourself as human, but I am sure you won't be. My eyes widened when I read that. It means I have lived all my life in a lie. I turned the page to read more, but found the next few pages had been torn, and thereafter the pages were empty. What the hell? I muttered in frustration. I picked the diary, in anger, and walked outside my room to talk with Mr. William. Correction, not talk but ask about the missing pages. Are you going to talk with my mate about this? I heard the annoying voice of my stepmother the moment I stepped out of my room. I looked at her first, and then toward her hand, where she was pointing, and found a few papers. It belongs to me, I said, and stepped forward to take those papers from them, but she pulled her hand away. I know, but I will give it to you after the marriage. But I have already agreed for the marriage. I tried to reason out to get those papers as soon as possible because I was desperate to read what else was written in those papers. You have agreed for the marriage just like my daughter, but you can run away from it just like her. So, get inside, and now you will come out of your room only at the time of the marriage. Saying this, she pushed me inside my room and locked it from outside. I wanted to bang the door and shout loudly, but I knew it was of no use. It's her pack and her orders would be followed here. Also, now that I had already decided to marry that arrogant alpha, I would ask for those pages after the marriage. A little patience would cause no harm, right? I asked myself, but didn't get any response in return. Is it possible that I could be a werewolf, but I am already 23 years old? A werewolf shifts at their 18th birthday. Or maybe just because my mother's wolf had left her before my birth, turning her into a human, even I could be a human. I kept thinking about all the possibilities. I didn't realize that it was evening already until I heard the door of my room getting opened, and a few unfamiliar faces walked into my room with the wedding gown and the makeup. I couldn't believe that this was really happening. After an hour of work, with all said and done, I finally got ready for my wedding. It sounded so strange because it was something beyond my wildest imagination. When I came back after 17 years, I had no idea that I would be an alpha's last-minute bride. Number TBC. I couldn't express my happiness when I lifted my gaze from the floor and felt a rush of emotion swirl straight to my heart as my mate made her way down the aisle, all dressed up in a pretty white wedding gown. The wedding gown they had chosen for her was perfect for her figure. It left me wondering whether they had already planned this all incident, or they had planned her marriage to someone else who was not me. I felt instant rage at that thought. Okay, fine. Don't spoil our mood by thinking all those stupid thoughts, my wolf suggested. Our mate looks so beautiful in her wedding gown, he added, and I couldn't help myself from agreeing with him. I tried to hide any more emotions from my face as Evangeline reached near me. Her name is too long. How about we call her Angel? Not bad. I liked it. Our mate. Our angel, he said, and the whole time my eyes were on her. Her hands on her father's shook, and her eyes were on the ground. Not once did she look my way. Well, what else could I expect from a bride who was blackmailed to marry? Her father didn't look happy as he let go of her hands so that she could stand opposite to me. Nor her stepmother. Talking about my family, even they didn't look happy at all. Why? Because half of them had thought that I was getting married to a weak human just for the sake of the pack, while others were feeling sorry for my mate because they knew what kind of person I was. Angel. On the other hand, I couldn't figure out what she was thinking or feeling, and she was the one I actually wanted to know about. Did any part of her want this wedding to happen? And should it matter to me? Please hold her hands, the father ordered. Angel forwarded her hands toward me, and I didn't waste any single second to hold it. The spark ran all around my body when her small warm hand clasped around mine. I knew even she could feel the same, but just because I was an alpha, the feeling was 10 times stronger than any human. As the ceremony started, my wolf started dancing in joy because this time, he was ready for the wedding unlike yesterday. He was actually happy today. I do. And with those 2 words, I finally got my mate. My mate as my wife now. It sounds so good. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. My body was excited and felt over the moon after hearing this. Kiss the bride. I want to kiss her senselessly. But observe her discomfort. I was not sure whether it was a good idea or not. She wasn't looking directly at me as if she was avoiding my eyes for some reason. I hated that. I wanted her to look at me just like I was looking at her. My eyes fell on her pretty pink lips, and I had a deep urge to claim it as soon as possible. I lifted her veil and lifted her chin to make her look at me, but she had already closed her eyes. Nope. This is not happening. If I am going to kiss her, then she must look into my eyes. Open your eyes, Evangeline. Her entire body went still at my demand, and slowly she opened her blue eyes, deep and clear as the ocean. And just like the ocean, her eyes were silent as well as dangerous at the same time. Without further warning, I gripped her waist with my other hand and crashed my lips to her. I could feel that she was not prepared for it. That's why I quickly pulled away from her. Also, my other reason to pull away from her was that I didn't want anyone to feel that I was into her since the very first day, and she was my mate. You may mark your Luna Alpha Daniel, I heard the father saying, at which the excitement level of my wolf increased and my pack members howled in happiness. But the excitement of my wolf died when we both smelt fear of our mate. By looking at her, anyone could tell that she was standing confidently without any fear. But the truth was far away from reality. I clenched my jaw, angry that the first thing I thought about was stopping her discomfort and fear. I want to mark her at this very moment. But we have to give her some time. I was going to say the same, I said, and we nodded together in an understanding way. After all, our mate had faced a lot of things in one single day. I am not going to mark her, I announced, making everyone silent. At least, not now. I wanted to add that, but my big ego didn't let me say that. Get all your belongings from your room. We will be leaving for our home in half an hour, I said to her with a poker face on which my wolf was scolding me. You could have said those words with love. Whatever had won. The time of half an hour was about to end, and at that moment I realized that something was wrong. Angel's scent wasn't as strong as it was half an hour ago, but that couldn't be right. She couldn't have run away from here just after our marriage. Even my wolf started getting restless. Daniel, I wanted to talk about your bride. Why did you? My aunt stopped asking me that question when she observed my expression. What happened, son? I'm not sure, I answered as both I and my wolf were trying to focus on her scent. By the way, you were saying something, Aunt. Was it necessary to marry a human? Yes, it was for Our family reputation, I answered her. I could feel she wanted to ask some more questions, but I was already on my way to her room, looking for her. The last thing I remembered, I had asked her to collect her things from her room. My heart was racing as I climbed the steps 2 at a time. The closer I got, the more worried I became. If she was in there, I should be able to hear her, or at least her scent would hit me a lot stronger than before. None of that was happening. I slammed the door open, in a rush, and scanned the room. You could have opened the door calmly. Now observing your anger and behavior, everyone will get to know that our angel is not here. My wolf tried to calm my anger. Not a word. Not a single word. Evangeline. I called her name and stormed into the washroom when I didn't hear her answer my call. I looked around and found a rope made up of curtains and bed sheets thrown out of the window. I checked that the rope was almost touching the ground. Immediately the understanding and the calm wolf was long gone. He started fuming in anger just like me. My fists tightened at my sides and I held back on punching the wall. She shouldn't have run away from us, he muttered in anger, and I didn't waste a single second jumping from her window. I sniffed in the air and realized in which direction our mate had left. Bad move, Angel. I smirked before morphing into the big silver wolf and running in the direction of our mate, following her scent. Number TBC. I couldn't cry on my fate anymore. After all, I got married to an arrogant and heartless alpha. I wonder what his problem was. One moment, I could find him looking at me with an unknown expression, which I couldn't name yet. But at the same time, he looked like he didn't give a damn about this marriage and had nothing to do with me. Well, why would he? He wanted to marry my sister and got married to me instead. He ordered me to look at him, and without warning, he gripped my waist and crushed his lips to mine. I was not prepared for the rush of emotions that jammed my heart. I couldn't understand the reason for my sudden emotions for him. I gripped his black suit, trying to hold myself from falling to the floor. And just like he kissed me before I could have prepared myself, he pulled away from me so quickly that I was left to think that I was a plague from which he wanted to stay away as much as possible. But his eyes said otherwise. When he mentioned that he was not going to mark me, I felt a slight pain in my heart which I again couldn't decipher why. I was already prepared for this, didn't I? He would obviously mark his mate. Not me, right? Get all your belongings from your room. We will be leaving for our home in half an hour, though he again sounded arrogant. But I liked the fact that he mentioned our home. His home was mine now. I quickly walked inside the home to get those pages from my stepmother, which she had said that she would hand over to me. But I could find her, Luna Evangeline. I started that Omega in confusion when he called me with that name. It took me a while to realize that I was now married to an alpha, and that made me Luna. Your mother asked me to give this to you. I nodded my head, taking the paper which she had in her hand. Meet me near the lakeside. Make sure you should come alone and no one should see you. What the fuck? What is she planning at this moment? Mr. Arrogant has given me just half an hour. How in the hell could I manage meeting her near the lake and get all my belongings in just half an hour? Taidi. Chu. The moment the moonlight touched my skin, I felt like something happened to my skin. I gently rubbed my hands and ran toward the forest as fast as I could, but I immediately stopped when I saw white hairs growing out of my hands. I stopped running and touched my hands again. What kind of sick joke was this? I tried to pull those white hairs like fur from my hand, but I felt pain while doing so. It seemed like those were the parts of my body. But how could that be possible? I had had waxing a few days before. I collapsed on the ground suffering from an excruciating pain that erupted from my stomach, radiating toward my whole body. I watched the color of my nails getting changed from the shed of white and pink to black. Also, my body started getting covered with those white furs more densely than before. Is it possible that I'm shifting? I asked myself, but didn't receive any answer in return. I felt bones start to crack and start to realign themselves. I wanted to cry and shout loudly, but I couldn't, because by that time I had lost my voice. All I could do was whimper in pain. I closed my eyes and kept whimpering until the pain subsided. After a few minutes, I heard an excited female voice. "Hello, open your eyes." I did what I was told and found no one around. My eyes widened as I saw my toes, which were no longer human toes but furry paws. I took a 360-degree turn, only to see my tail. I heard someone giggling. I quickly stopped my stupid activity and got conscious. Well, you can blame me. It does not happen every day. I mean, turning into a wolf from a human. Yeah, that's right. I heard that voice again. "Who's here?" I asked. But my voice didn't come out like a human. I felt stupid to ask that question. "I can still hear you, Eva, because I am a part of you. I don't want to confuse you more. Long story short, I am Ivory, your lichen." With that, I saw a big wolf starting appearing in my mind, whose furs were as white as milk. Lichen? You don't know anything about wolves and their history, do you? I couldn't help but negatively shake my head. Fine then, I will explain. "Mate," she shouted in excitement, changing the topic which she was saying before. "Mate? I mean our mate?" "Yes. I hope you know about mate and mate bond." "I do. I mean, not much, but I know that is the person who is sent by Moon Goddess for you, who is meant to love and cherish you." "Perfect. Now, think about your human form. We have to meet our mate." I first smiled at the idea of having a mate, but then realization hit me like a truck. But I am already married to someone else who's my sister's mate," I said in a panic. "You gotta be kidding me." My lichen gave me a disbelief look. "Please leave from here. I don't want to meet our mate. I don't want to be someone who cheats on someone just because he or she finds his or her mate, because I know how this mate bond works. But, please, Ivory, let's go from here before he's here," I pleaded, when I smelt an amazing smell of sandalwood and lavender coming close to me. "Fine." She agreed to me unwillingly and started running from there. Then I noticed my senses heightened 10 times more and could run as fast as a vampire. My sad mood was uplifted when the wind brushed through my fur as I ran. This feeling was amazing. Ivory took another way to reach my home, and just like she directed, I was shifted back to my human form, and I still had my wedding gown on. "Perks of an alpha lichen," she said in my mind. "What are the other perks of alpha lichen?" I asked her when I was climbing up to reach my room. "No one can sense my presence until I want them to feel it," she said proudly. "By the way, are you sure this is your room, because I can still smell our mate?" "Me too, but I don't think he can come here. Only limited people are allowed to enter my room, and I don't think our mate will try to risk his life by trespassing in our pack without Alpha's permission," I answered, more like I explained to myself. I finally entered my room and sighed in relief with the thought that I didn't get caught by anyone, but my happiness didn't last long. When I saw Daniel sitting on my bed and glaring at me, "Oh boy, mate," Ivory howled in happiness and joy. "Are you sure? Because he's my sister's mate, and he is the person whom I'm married to." Ivory immediately became silent, considering what I just said, while I gulped nervously when I saw him walking toward me in anger. "This is not good. Number TBC. Where were you?" And there came his first question. "In the forest." I replied the truth, as he was already in my room and had seen me entering my room through the window. So there was no use in lying to him. "That I already know, Evangeline. You know what I am asking, so don't try to be over smart," he said, coming close to me. I tried to move backward, but my back hit the window, making me realize that I didn't have any space to move away. I have no idea what you are trying to ask. Why don't you ask me directly? Maybe in that case, you will get your answer. I questioned back innocently. Ivory, you there? Yeah, I am. I am planning to tell him about you. Mate or not, but he has the right to know about you. I am excited to meet our mate, but the fact that he's your sister's mate as well is not getting settled in my mind. Is he blessed with 2 mates? She asked that question to me, about which I had no idea. And after listening to her, I already started hating the fact of sharing my husband with someone else as well. Neither I want any second woman in his life, nor do I want to be his second choice. Unknown jealousy and anger started filling in my body. So, let me ask you directly. Who was the werewolf with whom you were spending your night just after getting married? He asked me the most ridiculous question on the earth in an accusing manner. I wasn't with anyone. I hissed in anger, stressing on every word, and pushed him to leave from there. How dare he point his finger at my character? I didn't like his attitude. I heard Ivory muttering, "Same here. Now I have changed my mind. I am not going to tell him about you. Not now at least." I was about to open the door of my room. That's when he grabbed my hand harshly and shoved me over. I was completely not prepared for this, so I landed on the bed with my back toward him. "Have you gone mad?" I asked, getting up, but he pushed me back onto the bed while placing his right leg on the bed. "I have already told you before, and I am repeating it. Don't talk to me like that. And even I have mentioned you before that I am not your slave, but I am your husband and your alpha. In that way, I am also your wife, your Luna, and your equal. If you are going to treat me like shit, then I won't mind leaving you," I said in anger, and immediately I saw the color of his eyes start getting changed. "His wolf didn't like the fact that you talked about leaving them," Ivory said, clearing my doubts as to why the color of his eyes started changing. "Mine," he roared angrily at my face. I was surprised to see fear in his eyes, behind his anger. What was he afraid of? Afraid of losing me. Before I would have thought about this a little more, Daniel grabbed my hand again and made me stand, only to drag me out of my room. I looked at him in shock. Where was he taking me? He finally stopped in front of Mr. Williams. "I am leaving with my wife now." I tried to search for my stepmother, but she was nowhere to be found. Daniel took my hand in his and let me out of the pack house, practically racing toward his car. "Stop," I said, and tried to pull my hand from his grip, but it was too tight. "I have to say goodbye to my mother," I lied. Daniel narrowed his eyes. "I can smell lies, Evangeline. It's time for us to go home." With that, he started dragging me again until we finally reached near his car. Side? The trip to Daniel's pack was a quiet one. After that argument, neither of us said anything to the other, and also, there was nothing much to talk about. If not for his family reputation, Daniel never would have married me. He wanted to be my sister, not me. And I don't think he would leave any chance to make me realize it. Ivory, what happens when anyone is blessed with 2 mates? In very few cases, one can stay with both the mates. And that would never happen in our case, because I can't share my husband. Either he has to choose me or Alina. And that's what happens in other cases. One has to make a choice between the two. And in this case, he would definitely choose Alina. After all, he was getting married to her in the first place, not me, whom he blackmailed to marry. What do you think? I don't know. It's just a few things that are confusing. I'll talk about it later, she said before leaving. I looked around me and found that I was already in Daniel's pack. And everyone was looking at the car curiously, might be excited to meet their Luna. But what would be their reaction when they would find out that their alpha got someone else as his Luna? Finally, the car came to a halt at the pack house. I watched a girl of my age or younger compared to me excitedly open the door for us, and I hopped out of the car, mindful of my steps. "Hi, sister-in-law. I am Nora, Daniel's sister," she said with a wide smile on her face. "Hi." I smiled at her and looked around again. There were too many eyes on me and I was nervous like hell, but all my nervousness was taken away when his hand snaked around my small waist. I wondered whether he knew what he had just done. Number TBC. Daniel started walking toward the two women standing in front of the main gate. Daniel was the exact carbon copy, one of those women, and another one looked like some relative. So, I guess the first lady to be his mother, Daniel, called the woman who looked like his relative, and immediately he left my side to walk toward her. He held her hand in respect and turned toward me. "Evangeline, she is my..." Too late. By that time, I was already near his mother. I had no idea why. All I could think about was my mother when I saw her. She held the same warmth and love in her deep eyes. Also, it looked like I had seen her somewhere. I had no idea where. "You're Daniel's mother, right?" I asked the most stupid question ever, even though I already knew the answer. She smiled widely and hugged me dearly. I felt loved after a long time. "I agree." Ivory agreed with my thoughts. "You look just as beautiful as your mother," she said, after breaking the hug and pinching my cheek. I smiled at her, but deep down a lot. Many questions started forming in my head. How did she know that? Did she know? My mother? But my thoughts were interrupted by my wolf. "Our mate is angry." Hearing her, I turned my head toward two pairs of angry eyes glaring at me. But why? What did I do now? Daniel was looking at me as if he was going to burn me alive. Oh, I remember now. He was about to introduce me to that lady, and I gave first importance to his mother. I quickly walked toward him. "I am sorry." I tried to apologize to the other lady, but then I remembered that I didn't know who she was. She smiled at me before speaking. "I am his aunt. I am so sorry, aunt." I apologized to her and hugged her. I could tell that she was taken aback by my gesture. But after a while, even she hugged me back. "It's okay, sweetheart. Welcome to the pack," she said. But I could still feel Daniel's anger. I still couldn't understand why now. "Daniel, take her to your room. She might be feeling tired. Nora will show her the room," he said, and gave one hard look to Nora. I could tell that she was scared of him. Poor girl. If he didn't want to show me our room, then why wouldn't I ask his mother to do so? And in the meanwhile, I could ask her how she knows my mother. "No, thank you." I immediately replied to him and walked toward his mother. "Can you please take me to Daniel's room?" I asked her softly. Sure." Even his mother was afraid of him. "Great. Evangeline," Daniel roared behind me. Everyone around me trembled at the sight of my mate. But unlike others, I wasn't the least bit intimidated by Daniel's deep, throaty roar. I didn't turn to look at him, but judging the sound of his feet, he was most definitely coming toward me. "Mate sounds sexy when he's angry," Ivory commented, on which I glared at her. I didn't understand what his problem was. He was the one who didn't want to take me to the room, and now that I asked his mother to do the same for me, he got angry. I mean, was he, for real? "Come with me," he muttered, and grabbed my hand harshly and started dragging me out of that place. I pressed my lips tightly to control my anger. I really didn't want to create a scene in front of everyone, but he really needed to change his habit of dragging me here and there like an object. Once we were in his room, he shoved my hand. Unlike last time, I didn't land on bed because I was already prepared for it. "Today is the first and last time that you speak to that woman," he threatened. And who the hell are you to decide with whom I should speak and with whom I shouldn't? I questioned back in the same tone. I was seriously mad over this man. I couldn't understand how I was going to share all my life with him. I turned around to walk toward the window because I didn't want to talk with him anymore. But before I could have taken any other step, I felt his hand on my waist and his hot breath against my neck. I felt my body shiver as he touched me, and his deep masculine scent was not helping me at all. I felt rustling in my skin, a sharp electric pull where his skin touched mine. His hands were on my arms now as he pulled my back toward him so that my ass up against his front while his lips were right next to my ear. Don't ask me who I am because you already know that. Still, I am reminding you that you're my match, my wife now. You are here, in my pack, in my room because you're my wife. He hissed. And if I am asking you to do something, then you should understand that I am telling it with my personal experience, he added. I held completely still, fighting against the strong attraction, like a magnet between us. I know that I'm your wife, and I am not going to follow any orders until I hear the reason behind it, I answered back. Now, I would like you to leave me. I have to use the washroom. Daniel didn't say anything at that, and let me go quickly as he'd reached for me. I immediately started missing the warmth that I was feeling when we were close. Number TBC. It was still 4 a.m, so I was thinking about taking a small nap. After all, I had a very long day. But I couldn't sleep in my wedding gown for sure, and I clearly remembered that I didn't take anything with me after our wedding, because Mr. Arrogant dragged me from there. Are you planning to stay in the washroom all your life? I heard his voice from the other side of the door. Yes, it's better than staying with you. I replied in the same sarcastic tone, and after that, I didn't hear anything from him again. After staying for 1 more minute, I stepped out of the washroom, only to find him half naked. My eyes widened, seeing his body revealing the sexiest manly chest I'd ever seen on any man before. I hated to admit it, but I was definitely distracted by my current display of muscles, abs, and smooth skin. The man standing in front of me was a masterpiece, and I think he knew that, because that's why he had a smirk on his face when I was staring at him. Like what you see, he asked arrogantly. Don't you have to change your clothes in the washroom instead of here? What's wrong with changing clothes in the room? We're now a married couple, and you should get used to seeing me naked from now on. I flushed at his words. Get used to seeing him naked. I didn't think that was something I would ever get used to. Even the sight of his naked chest was hard for me to look at. Immediately I started getting nervous. I hope he was not planning to do that. Don't think about our mate in that way. He could be arrogant and bossy, but I feel that we can trust him, Ivory said, on which I agreed, but I was still feeling nervous. Never had I been with a man alone in a single room. It was not like I felt unsafe. His behavior was rude till now, but not cheap, as I was drowning in my own thoughts. I didn't notice that he came standing in front of me. I know you haven't brought anything with you, so use this as for today. I will ask someone to get all your belongings from the city. I looked at the clothes he was holding. It's one of his t-shirts and shorts. I was feeling so flushed at that moment. In another situation I would have refused, but right now I really need it. So, I took it from him without a word and headed toward the washroom again. Daniel's point of view. My relationship with my mother was not good, and observing Angel getting involved with her made me angry. I knew it was my mistake that I didn't discuss it with her before, but when I asked her to stop speaking with that woman, she questioned me back. Moon Goddess. Would this girl even listen to me? Angel was angry too. I could sniff the tension in the air. That's why for then, I wanted to keep our argument aside, because I knew she was tired and needed rest. I knew she didn't have any clothes with her because I didn't let her take anything from her parents' pack. That's why I offered my clothes. And thankfully she took my clothes without any arguments. As she went to change her clothes, I couldn't help but think about all the incidents which had happened until now. I was positive that she was with any werewolf in the forest. Otherwise, there was no way she could have escaped from me. But at the same time, I couldn't smell anyone else's scent from her. Does she have someone else in her life? I quickly shook my head at that thought, but then I knew nothing about her and her past. But I know that our mate is pure and had no men in her life until now. My wolf growled at me for that stupid thought. And you will mess up our relationship with her if you continue to fight with her like this. Human or not, mate or not, she is now our other half and we should respect her, he added. It's easy for you to say, after all. You haven't seen what I had seen years back. I muttered, and still my mind was thinking about my mate leaving her room without telling anyone. Why was everything so messed up? Was I thinking too much? I heard her coming out of the washroom. As I looked up, I arrived at the conclusion that I wouldn't be able to think of anything else tonight apart from her. Standing in front of me was the most beautiful woman I had ever laid my eyes on. She was looking really hot in my clothes. Though they were so big for her petite frame, they suited her perfectly. My t-shirt stopped a few inches about her knees and was almost covering the shorts. Her black hair was now fully open, and for the first time, I saw that they were so long, reaching up to her waist. My fingers were itching to touch them. I couldn't believe that within such a short period of time, she was like a temptation to me. Also, she had the power to hurt me and heal me at the same time without doing anything. She looked at me quite shyly. Our eyes met and everything else around us faded. Her blue eyes stared deep into mine. It was like both of us were trying to look deep inside each other. I could see that she looked confused, like she was searching for some answers, but was not able to get them. She looked so stressed. For a second I thought that I should ask her, but stopped myself, as we weren't that close. Yet, she looks so hot in your clothes right now that I just want to grab her close to me and never ever release her. My wolf said in excitement. Shut up, I scolded him. You can take the bed and I will use the couch. I finally said, ignoring the wild thoughts that my wolf was speaking. Number TBC. No, I will sleep on the couch. You should use the bed as it's your room, she argued back. Not. Again. Why should she have to argue with me all the time? Why couldn't she listen to me? But then again, I hate to admit it, her nature for some reason turned me on. I never liked weak and submissive people. The beast inside me loved her feisty side and wanted her just as much as I did. I mean, our room. She corrected herself after a while. After hearing from her, I relaxed a little, thinking at least she considered my room as her as well. Number, you should use the bed after all, you are tired. I tried to reason with her. And so you are. I am not the only one who got married today. Besides, that couch is so small for you. You won't fit in. She made me realize something which I hadn't thought about. And I must say, she was right. But my big ego couldn't let her win in this argument. What do you mean by, I won't fit in? I questioned her, even though I knew she was talking about my height and my big figure. Also, I just loved talking to her. I didn't know whether she knew this or not, but her voice was so melodious. Why do you have to pick a fight with me all the time? She asked angrily. Can't you understand one simple thing, that I didn't want to offend you? It's just your tall body won't fit on that small couch, she added. But guess what? There is no use of talking to you because you are not going to listen to me. I am stupid who was getting worried for you. She huffed and sat on the bed. I was amused listening to her words. Even though she was angry, she looked so cute in it. It showed that she cared for me, and my heart swelled up with joy. I knew she was right, but I also knew that she wouldn't be able to sleep comfortably on the couch, and I could never let my angel feel any discomfort. Don't worry about me. I can sleep in all the unusual places. I am habitual to it, but humans like you are not. So now don't argue and just sleep. I saw her opening her mouth to say something, but then she closed it without saying anything. Maybe she got the idea that no matter what she would say, I wouldn't listen to her. She glared at me. "You're impossible," she said before sleeping. "I don't want to lose her." "Daniel, me, neither. Still, you're fighting with her, like a kid, and you also made her upset. If this is so, then I will surprise her with something special," I answered him. By that time, I had already planned what I would do for her tomorrow. After some time, I saw her sleeping peacefully, but sleep was far away from my eyes. I kept staring at her without blinking. She looked so beautiful with open hair, pink lips, long eyelashes, just like an angel. The moment my eyes landed on her for the first time, I knew I was screwed up. I knew this girl would either be the death of me or bring me to life, said Dee. After an hour, I left my room silently without disturbing her sleep for the training. I wanted to skip today's training, but I couldn't ignore my alpha duties. I returned back after 3 hours of training and saw that my angel was still sleeping. It seemed like she was really tired. I agreed with my wolf and walked inside the washroom to take a bath. I came downstairs after getting dressed, and everyone looked at me in surprise. I already knew why. "Where is Evangeline?" my aunt asked. "Aunt." I started speaking hesitantly. "Don't tell me that she's still sleeping," she said, raising her eyebrow. "I didn't say anything about it because that's the truth. Isn't it obvious that she would be sleeping after a sleepless night yesterday?" My father teased me and my eyes widened in shock, though nothing happened between us and they could smell that as well, but my cheeks turned pink with embarrassment which I tried to hide. "Dad, I didn't see you after my wedding. Where were you?" "I went to attend one of your meetings without telling you, because I was afraid that you might leave your wedding for your work. After all, we already know that you were not interested in this marriage." "Yes, I would have done the same if I would have been married to someone else, except my angel. You guys can continue the topic of the work later. For now, wake her up, Daniel. You are always too strict and never allow anyone to sleep beyond the time. For you, things need to be done at their time," she said, reminding me of my rule. "But Aunt, she must be really tired with everything." I tried to reason with her, not knowing how to tell my aunt to let her sleep. "So do you. But you are here after training for continuous 3 hours. Right?" she reasoned. "Leave it, Emma. She's not a werewolf like us. Let her sleep." My father solved the problem much to the delight of me. Aunt was clearly unhappy, but she didn't say anything once her brother announced his decision. I went to our room to check whether she was awake after having my breakfast. Nope. It looked like she was definitely not a morning person. Emma's point of view. I couldn't believe this. He was defending her that too within a day after with her. I had chosen Alina for him because she was a fool and stupid, which could never make her place in Daniel's heart. But all my plans failed when that idiot ran away and Evangeline came into his life. I don't know more about her, but I can tell that she is something and she had her effect on Daniel. Not to mention, she doesn't look stupid like her sister. I am not sure yet, but I feel like Daniel already started liking her, even though she is nothing but a human. I can see that in his eyes, even though he had maintained a cold look from outside. The way he kept looking at her during the wedding, his eyes showed love and happiness for which he had longed for years. And I wouldn't let him live happily, no matter whatever I would have to do to accomplish my task. He robbed my happiness. And how could I let him be happy? I have to do something before things get out of my hand. Number TBC. Angel, wake up. I gently shook her up. 2 minutes, babe, she mumbled. Babe. Who is he? I thought and started getting angry. She was here near me in my room on my bed and was thinking about someone else. I couldn't help but growl at her sleeping figure. In no time, she woke up and looked at her surroundings. Hi. Junque. Evangeline's point of view. I quickly took in my surroundings. The wall facing the bed was rounded and wasn't the wall at all, but glass from floor to ceiling. Dark red curtains hung to one side, and the walls were a cream color, and bedding was black and red around me. And then my eyes landed on Daniel, who was sitting on the bed in a casual jeans and V-neck t-shirt. I tore my gaze away from his clothes to meet his eyes. They were golden and absolutely terrifying. "Who's your babe?" His voice was deep and full of authority as he sat with his hands clenched around the tray full of breakfast. I would be lying if I said that I was not scared. I was about to talk about my roommate, but stopped when I heard his next question. Who's he? Evangeline, not? Again, if he had already made up his mind to doubt me, then I wouldn't explain myself. Never. None of your business. I stood up from the opposite side of the bed, facing him with my hands across my chest. Hearing my answer, he threw the tray he was holding in his hand and stood up. I didn't think it was possible, but his eyes got darker. He took slow, deliberate steps around the bed, toward me. Every step he was taking toward me. I was taking one step back, until my back pressed against the cold wall. My breath hitched in my throat, both in fear and his proximity. It's my business when you moan, babe, thinking about someone else who's not me. Tell me who he is now, he roared, and I swore that our room shook. No. An animalistic growl tore from his lips as he shook with anger. He turned to the side of me and punched straight down the wall. I would have been shaking in fear if Ivory wouldn't have been with me. She was angry too, but unlike Daniel, she knew how to control her anger. Even I can roar back. It's just, I don't want to make him realize my presence until I solve the mystery of his two mates. She said in my mind. Fine, then stay in this room. You're not getting any food or water until you finally decide to open your mouth, he ordered as he ran past me, slamming the bedroom door closed behind him. I could hear things shattering and thundering footsteps moving downstairs. Tears streamed down my face because of his rude behavior. I slowly slid my body to the ground. I pulled my knees to my chest and let my sobs overtake my body. I didn't know how long I cried about my fate, but eventually I ended up just sitting on the bed and kept staring at the wall blankly. Later, Nora appeared in my room, carrying a tray of food. I've brought you some lunch. She slowly stopped inside the room, holding the tray to me and judging my mood. Does he know? I asked emotionlessly, and I didn't move, just stared. Yeah. Actually, he himself sent these foods. Thank you. But I am not hungry, Nora. Please take the lunch with you. But he. Please, Nora, I insist, I said, and narrowed my eyes, giving the signal that I wanted to be alone. She nodded her head and left the room. I thought about grabbing some sleep instead of doing nothing in the room. Immediately I jumped when the bedroom door flung open, revealing a very agitated Daniel holding the same tray that Nora had. He stepped in carefully. Angel, you need to eat, please, he said gently. I am not hungry. You're lying, Angel, please. His begging tugged at my heart, but he didn't know just how stubborn I could be. I was about to decline his request again, but that's when my stomach showed its presence, making me embarrassed in front of me. See, even your stomach is demanding for food, he added, pointing toward my stomach. I kept silent for a while until his handful of food reached near my mouth. I narrowed my eyes while he signaled to open my mouth. I finally did what he signaled and finally took the food in my mouth. I can eat myself, I said, trying to take the tray from his hand, but he didn't give it to me. Let me feed you, he said more like ordered. By the way, how's it? He asked, while coming closer to me, making me uncomfortable a bit. It's delicious. I would personally thank the cook for this amazing food, I said truthfully. If that is so, then you can thank me, he said, and smiled, a genuine one. Really? Do you cook occasionally? I couldn't help myself from asking that question. No, I don't cook occasionally. It's just my wolf suggested me to do something for you because of our bitter beginning, he said, and smiled a little. This was the first time he was trying to open up with me. Now that he was speaking with me normally, it's my turn to answer him that question which he wanted to ask. Babe is my roommate, I finally said, on which he said his eyebrow. Actually, her name is Dana, but I call her Babe because she is my junior and is more like my baby sister, I added, supporting my explanation. Good, that Babe is the girl, not boy, otherwise I would have torn him to pieces, he said arrogantly. Not again, I said, narrowing my eyes. Whatever, he shrugged his shoulders. By the way, I am hosting a dinner party tonight in honor of the Pax Luna arrival. Okay. I nodded my head. And I don't want you to interact with that woman, and that's my order, Angel, he said when the lunch was finished. I will attend the party, but I will also talk with your mom, I challenged him. You will see the worst side of me if you do that, Angel. If it is so, then I won't attend the party at all. You will attend. Really. I would like to see you try and make me. His brown eyes went from brown to golden again. He threw the tray and the plates again, only the difference was that this time those were empty. He stood up and I looked at the ground shaking. He turned on his heel, ripping the door open and slamming it shut. Number TBC. I didn't know why I picked the fight with him again. I was cursing my big mouth. Everything was fine between us one moment and the second moment. We both ruined it. I stayed in our room, checking each and everything in it. After a few hours, the door of the room opened softly, and a lady softly asked my permission to come in. She had a beautiful gown in her hand, and all the matching accessories in her hand. She gave a polite smile before leaving the room. Once she left, I checked all the things which she had brought. I was surprised that the gown was of my size. It seemed like Daniel had already asked about my size from my stepmother. Not to mention, even matching lingeries was there with the gown. Moon Goddess, please tell me that he is not the one who has sent this to me, I thought, getting embarrassed with the thought of Daniel choosing these things for me. I had no idea what his family might be thinking about me after all. I didn't leave the room throughout the day, and was planning not to attend the party which would be held for my arrival. Don't worry. We are going to make him change his decision. And at the end only that will happen which we want, Ivory said, on which I nodded my head. Senda. Wes. I crossed my arms over my chest and leaned back against the bed by closing my eyes. I was talking with Ivory to know more and more about the werewolves. Okay. One last question. Why did I shift this late while other werewolves are shifted between the 16 to 18 years old? Don't you know? Know what? That you, Evangeline, Daniel growled. Why are you still ready? I opened my eyes slowly and tried to act as if I was sleeping. I think I made it clear to you before that I won't be coming to the party. I heard his sharp intake of breath, which made me turn to look in his direction. Anger and frustration was clear in his eyes. I could tell that he was having a hard time controlling his anger, but I gave a damn to his anger. Everyone started arriving downstairs, Evangeline, he said. And I won't tolerate any of your misbehavior if it comes to my and my family reputation. So better dressin' up quickly. Or what? He narrowed his eyes and took fierce steps toward the bed, toward me. A part of me was telling me that I was playing with the fire and might end up getting burnt, while the other part wanted to tame and control this fire. He grabbed my chin and brought my face closer to him. You're taking it too far, Angel. Don't blame me if I won't be able to control my anger. He threatened with our lips inches apart. I inhaled his scent and felt losing control over my mind because of the close proximity. My eyes widened as his lips crashed down on mine, and I couldn't find any more words to say. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even remember what was happening before this. All I knew was that this was the second time he had kissed me. And again, I wasn't prepared for it. Immediately reality hit me like a thunder when I realized that he was going to marry my sister, not me. He had chosen her, not me, and who knew? Maybe he would end up with her once she would be back. I tried to push him away, but he wasn't letting me go. Oh, moon goddess. What was this man doing to me? Was it healthy to feel this way around someone that would leave you at the end? Daniel, Evangeline. We heard the voice of his aunt and we quickly broke the kiss. Thankfully, the door was closed. You go inside the washroom. I will tell her that you're getting ready for the party, he ordered. Again, an order from him, but right now was not the time to argue, so I nodded and went inside. Once I was inside the washroom, he opened the door. Where is Evangeline? Don't tell me that she's giving you a hard time. It's not like Aunt Emma. You know girls these days, it's just she is taking a lot more time in getting ready for the party. Right now, she's inside the washroom. Good. I have brought this necklace for her. I will ask her to make her wear this on her gown, she said, and felt that she came inside the room. So I will wait for her to come out. How can I go out when she is there? That too in Daniel's clothes. No way, please Daniel, help me. You don't have to waste your time on such small things, Aunt. You must have many important things to do. Besides, she won't mind receiving this necklace from me. I can say the same after all you arranged this party. And you are the alpha of this pack. I will surely leave after a minute. It's just I have to spend some time with her alone, Daniel said. And after a while I heard the closing sound of the door. I came out and folded my arms in front of the idiot alpha. Seriously, Daniel, alone? Why did you say that? I asked angrily. If you heard everything, then you should know that she was not leaving the room, and also you had to get ready for real. That's why he tried to justify his words. You know what? Just leave it. You will not understand. Now what will she think of me? You're my wife, not a stranger, so she will not think anything. And this thing is disturbing you that much, then let me call her. He opened his mouth to say something, but I instantly came close to him and covered his mouth with my hand. Daniel, I forgot to tell. Oh, moon goddess, at least lock the door before jumping on one another, Aunt said, and closed the door. Both me and Daniel were flustered. We felt like teenagers who got caught by our parents. I quickly maintained some distance between us. Come downstairs soon, Angel, otherwise. I will come downstairs only at one condition, and my condition is number TBC. I quickly slipped in the gown which Daniel had chosen for me, and wore the necklace which Aunt Emma had brought for me, since I didn't know any hairstyle except bun as I had long hair. So I tied my hair into a neat bun and proceeded out of the room as quickly as I could because I was running super duper late. The moment my feet touched the first step and I came into everyone's view, all eyes were on me. It made me nervous and awkward at the same time because all the noise which was till a moment before turning pin dropped silent. I remembered how my mom used to carry herself with confidence and grace whenever there used to be any party at her pack, and I used to mimic her just like other kids of my age used to do. I.e., copy her mother. I carefully started coming downstairs and found Daniel standing at the end of the stairs, waiting for me and staring darkly at me. I tried to control the butterflies which I was feeling in my stomach just by his mere look. At the same time, I loved the way he was looking at me. Not for a second, his eyes left mine. Everyone? He said, as he gently took my hand in his. This is my wife and your Luna Evangeline, he announced. One by one, Daniel started introducing me with everyone, and not to mention with his family too. I was surprised when I realized that there were so many members in the family. His parents, i.e., both mom and dad, his aunt, two younger siblings, Nora and Stephen. I had never stayed with so many people in my whole life. After a while, I started getting bored with that introduction thing, as it was hard to keep up with all of the names. You can now spend your time with Nora. There came another order. As much as I wanted to argue with him on this fact, but I couldn't because he was doing this right. I was getting bored at the party by continuously smiling for the people whom I didn't know. Sad. All day. Is everything fine between Mom and Daniel? I asked Nora once we were alone. She immediately stopped smiling, which she was doing till a moment before. There's no need of hiding with you, Eva. After all, you are a part of our family now. Daniel doesn't talk with Mom, me, and Stephen. He only talks with Dad and Aunt Emma. And why? Is it so? I have no idea about it, because if I had any idea about it, then I would have surely tried to sort out their issues, she said in a sad tone. He was not like this from the beginning. I really wish to have him back, she added. Don't worry, I will try to know the reason, I said, with an assuring smile. I couldn't help myself from wondering what could be the reason for Daniel's anger for his mother when she was so sweet. Maybe I could be wrong as well, so better to find out about it on my own. Daniel's point of view. I will come downstairs only at one condition, and my condition is, I know what you want, Angel, and I guess there's no point of discussing it again and again when you have taken an oath to disobey me all the time, I said, trying to keep my voice as calm as I could. Just do whatever you want. I recalled my previous conversation with Angel and then saw her getting mingled with that woman despite my disapproval. I shook my head, knowing I couldn't do anything about it. I had already used all my ways to stop her from doing so. I had already threatened her and ordered her to stay away from that woman. But it didn't work. I couldn't hit her or physically hurt her to make her obey me. She was getting bored in the party previously by now. With that woman, she seemed happy, and a part of me wanted her to let her mingle with that woman by observing her smile and for the sake of her happiness. While I was thinking all this, I didn't observe Nora reaching near me. I'm so happy for you, Daniel. I know you're not going to speak with me just like other days, but I'm still happy by witnessing the changes in you. You talked to me after a long time for Eva, when you asked me to take food for her. In fact, I'm happy for you too. You're blessed to have Eva in your life as your wife. Earlier, I wasn't happy with the idea of you getting married to someone who's not your mate, not for the pack. But if the bride is like Eva, then one should grab that opportunity with both hands. I really liked her. She's kind and loving just like you used to be. By the way, congratulations, brother. Saying this, she hugged me while I controlled myself from hugging her back. Once she broke the hug, I saw sadness in her eyes. I wanted to take them away from her eyes, but I couldn't. After a while, she left from there and my eyes started looking for Angel again. But I couldn't find her anywhere. I started looking for her until I found her with Aunt Emma. They were having some serious conversation. He is an amazing son and will be the best husband for you. Just give him some time. You will know yourself soon, I heard Aunt speaking. If he is an amazing son, then why doesn't he treat his mother? Right? Don't raise this topic in front of him. There's a reason behind everything. All I would suggest is to follow his orders like a good wife, because he won't tolerate you being close to that woman. But why does he hate her? This girl and her questions. Gage. That's none of your business. There I came into the picture. Aunt, can you please give me a minute with her? She nodded and left from there. Why are you so concerned about them? And what will you do after knowing everything? It's not your family by any way, I added angrily. For your kind information, I am your wife, so everything that belongs to you is mine now, and I am so concerned about them because I never got a chance to live with such a sweet family before. I didn't get a chance to spend time with siblings because my stepmother never wanted me as a part of the family and Alina never considered me as her sister. While on the other side, you're blessed to have everything in your life, but you don't treat them right. I want everything to get sorted before it is too late, because we realize the value of the people and things when they leave. Rest of the party went like a blur. She was so mad at me that she didn't even bother to look at me. While I did look like a tough guy, but deep down we both were like a lost puppy without her. I will see how long you will stay away from me, I said to myself, and smiled, thinking that today was the first official night with her after our marriage. Number TBC. The thing I was scared and nervous of was happening. I was sitting at the edge of the bed while our room was decorated with flowers and scented candles. My heart was pounding loudly. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up getting a heart attack. Ivory. You there? I am. It's just I'm so excited for tonight. Really. Did you forget that he's my sister's mate too? We are only a substitute. Remember that. In that case, we have to make our own place in his life. I won't mind if I won't be his first. All I know is that I want to be his last. Wow, I didn't know you're a philosopher, I said in a sarcastic way and added, do remember that we are mad at him. That's the moment Daniel entered the room. His eyes immediately held mine, and we continued to stare at each other. His gaze scanned my body from head to the toe. It felt like he was touching me without using his hand on my body. I gripped the sheets under me to control my heartbeat. He broke the staring game and walked toward the wardrobe. Without warning, he started unbuttoning his shirts, acting like I wasn't in the room at all. I wanted to tell him to change in the washroom, but then I remembered what he said earlier. I couldn't explain my feeling at that moment. I never felt like that before. Is that because of Ivory or because of mate bond? I was feeling horny. I shook my head to clear my mind and had to press my legs together to control my need. At the same time, I saw him turning toward him in tension. Now what? I furrowed my eyes when he looked tense. Angel. He called my name. I wouldn't lie, but I fell in love with my name every time he called my name. Huh? I can smell your arousal. It took me a while to realize what he just said. I knew by that time my cheeks would have turned red because of embarrassment. I bit my lips nervously and started looking at the ground to avoid eye contact. Even knowing what I was feeling, he dropped his shirt on the floor, making me tense a little more than before. I looked at him angrily while he just smirked. It seemed like he was enjoying my state of mind. I held my breath as he unbuttoned his trouser. Call me shameless, but I didn't look away and kept staring at the most handsome and sexiest person in my world, changing his clothes in front of me. But to tease me more, he grabbed a towel and wrapped it around his waist and then opened his trouser. I wanted to wipe the stupid smirk which was on his lips constantly. He then stepped in the washroom. Once he left, I went near his wardrobe and took out one of his clothes to change my gown in frustration. I opened the zip of my gown and let it flow from my shoulder to feet, and the moment it touched the floor, I heard the sound of the door open. I wanted to run from there and hide somewhere, but nope. A part of me was frustrated and angry, and she wanted to take revenge. I stood there boldly in my lingeries and looked at him innocently. I tried not to shiver, observing the hunger in his greedy eyes. I stepped out my legs from the gown which was near my feet and picked his t-shirt to wear. I could smell the tension in the air, but I acted as I was unaware about it. Mate is aroused. I mentally laughed when I came to know about his state of mind. Now, this serve you right, Mr. Arrogant. Thinking that I wore his shorts, I looked at him and smirked. Tit for tat. I reached near the bed and laid on it, acting to sleep, but sleep was far away from my eyes. A lot of things were going on in my mind, whether he would sleep on the bed or on the couch, just like yesterday. I really want him to choose the first option, not because of any sexual tension, but because I knew he couldn't sleep comfortably on the couch. After a while, I felt that the other side of the bed dug in. I smiled knowing he was finally here and started trying my best to sleep, but couldn't. Fuck this. I heard him cursing, and out of nowhere, I was pulled forcefully toward the other side of the bed. I opened my eyes in shock and was about to ask Daniel the reason behind his behavior, but my voice got coughed in my throat when I was kissed again without warning. Though I was surprised, I didn't hold myself back and kissed him back with the same passion. His arms wrapped around me while my hands snaked around his neck, one hand going into his thick hair as our mouth molded into an intense passion of assertion for each other. Fingers digging into flesh and hands tugging the hairs, we were lost into a bubble of desire and possession. I pulled him as much closer as I could. There wasn't even an inch of space between us. Waves of pleasure ran down my entire being when our tongue joined the other. My moans were desperate when his groans just intensified the tug in my lower stomach. Seeming to losing his control, his hand sneaked to my back and cupped my ass, pulling me closer if possible. "My angel," he groaned as his hand roamed around my body. "You're driving me fucking crazy." Even if I didn't want to pull away, my lungs gave up. Detaching my lips from his, I rested my forehead against his. Closing my eyes, I took erratic breaths. My heart was pounding loudly in my chest. When sense started to kick back into my head, I realized that he would have been my sister's husband if she wouldn't have ran away from her wedding, and how easy it was for him to replace her with me for the sake of his family reputation. He could do the same in the future, couldn't he? And for some reason, I didn't like that fact. We stayed that way until I broke the silence. "You would have done the same with my sister if you would have married her. Number TBC. Immediately, the expression on Daniel's face changed. I was not sure whether I was right or not, but I could see regret and guilt in his eyes. And on the top, his body got tensed at my question. Was he regretting what just happened between us? I quickly looked away and tried not to cry, knowing that even for a while, but I had thought to make someone else's as mine when he had his entire heart for Alina. I started feeling horrible, and I could stop my tears when he rushed out of the room without answering me. You should not have asked that question with him. Seriously, Ivory, you are taking his side. You know we wolves can sense feelings and things before any human. And there's something I had sensed when we kissed our mate. And what is that? That he's blessed with only one mate. Okay. So you mean to say that only Alina is his mate? I doubt that. He's our mate, and that is for sure. But it could be possible that even your sister was his mate. And I couldn't be sure of this fact until I get a chance to talk with his wolf. I am sure he won't lie to us. All I came to the conclusion until now that either we AE Daniel's second chance mate, or Alina was never his mate. If the second option will come out true, then I'm not going to spare Daniel and his wolf. Ivory added. I looked toward the water jug because I felt thirsty a little. I picked it up only to realize that it was empty. Daniel's point of view. It took me a while to understand what Angel had asked. Her question made me feel guilty. It was making me feel like she was asking whether it was that easy to give her place to someone else. She was my other half, and I should have waited for her, unlike planning to get married to her sister. She was thinking that she was the replacement or substitute for her sister. I was disappointed and angry with myself. That's why, without another thought, I rushed out of the room. If I would tell her the truth, then she would not forgive me for replacing her with her sister. Because as much as I knew my Angel by now, I knew that she was hot-headed. But then, sooner or later, she would realize that she is my mate, and she would come to me with her other tons of questions. I would suggest you tell her the truth. I know she will get angry with us, but she is our mate. She will forgive us at the end, my wolf suggested. Or how about I lie her, about her sister, about my first mate, and she's my second chance mate. Starting a new relationship on the basis of lie will never be fruitful. But a little lie will not cause any harm, right? But at the same time, one single lie builds the chain of lies. My decision is final. Fine then, do whatever you want. I will deal with you later if your lies will create a havoc. He growled angrily before blocking the mind link. After thinking for a while about all the pros and cons of my lies, I walked toward my room to talk about everything with my angel. But again, I couldn't smell her scent in our room. I slammed the room and scanned the room. Angel. I called her name and checked the washroom. She was not there. I smelled the scent of blood. I quickly narrowed my eyes and started walking toward it. Before I could have checked there, a strong scent of mate hit my nostril, and I looked toward the door, only to find her standing on the door, holding a water jug in her hand. But she was in her gown, instead of my clothes. A sense of relief washed away when I saw her, but I still could smell blood. And that part was making me worried. Is Angel hurt? Was my first because I could smell the blood from her as well. I quickly reached near her, and my eyes started looking for injury on her body. I am on my period. Can you please arrange sanitary pads for me? She asked nervously. Thanks to Moon Goddess. I muttered and hugged her dearly, knowing that she was not hurt and I was thinking unnecessarily. I was shivering in fear, knowing that Daniel was about to find out my clothes which was soaked by the blood of the deer. I knew I was feeling thirsty, but never did I come across the thought that the thirst was for blood, not water. I couldn't believe it myself now. What the hell? I was. At first, I thought I was human, and then I thought I was a werewolf, but now, a vampire. You're a vampire, like in hybrid. Ivory answered, widening my eyes, because I was something which I myself didn't know. Number TBC. I couldn't help but shiver after Ivory revealed my identity. I couldn't forget how I killed the poor deer for my hunger. I was a leech who killed that poor thing after drinking all his blood. It's fine. No need to get nervous in front of me. I mean, it's normal for every woman. Daniel whispered in my ears. He was thinking that I was shivering for another reason, but the reality was far away from what he was thinking. I am so stupid, he muttered and broke the hug. Ivory whimpered when she lost the warmth of her mate. Give this water jug to me, he said, taking it from my hand and then making me sit on the bed. You shouldn't be standing. Sit here comfortably. I will be back with the sanitary pads as soon as possible, he said before leaving the room. I waited for a while, and when I couldn't hear his footsteps, I stood up and walked toward the window where I had hidden those clothes. What should I do with it? Either wash it or burn it. First option seems perfect to me. Ty, why are you washing clothes? I jumped in fear when I heard Daniel's voice. Relax. Everything's now fixed. He won't be able to find out anything until you share it with him. Ivory's voice calmed me down. I get it. You like to do all your things on your own, he assumed, and I quickly nodded my head because I couldn't get a better excuse than he just said. Can you please give me a minute? Yeah, he replied reluctantly. Here is what you need, he added by pointing toward the bag he had brought with him before closing the door of the washroom. I sighed in relief when he left. You still seem tense. That's because I want to know about myself. And for that, I have to meet Mr. Williams and his so-called mate. I am sure that Mom would have written something about all this in her diary. When are you planning to visit them? Tomorrow morning. I saw new pairs of night dresses, along with the lingeries and sanitary pads in the bag. Can he please stop embarrassing me? I thought, and shook my head in disbelief, wondering how he knew about my size. I changed my clothes and finally went out of the room. I saw Daniel sitting on the bed and seemed a little lost. I wanted to thank him for everything he did, but before that our conversation which was going on between us was pending and I needed my answer. We need to talk. Daniel said, after finding me standing near the door. Yes. We do need to talk, I said, walking toward the bed. I want the answer to my previous question also. I want to talk about our life. I mean, how we are going to adjust to our lives. It's time to clear the things between us. I hope he doesn't talk about anything like marriage for convenience or anything similar to that. I won't be able to tolerate that, I thought. I know and I understand that everything is pretty much unexpected for you. I mean, all your life you have stayed in the human world and out of nowhere. Your parents dragged you here in this world, and then I blackmailed you to marry me. You must need some time to adjust to this sudden change in your life, and I'm okay with it. I mean, all this is too much for you to handle. And about your question earlier, Before he could have said anything else, the color of his eyes changed into golden. I quickly moved back on the bed, because of the sudden change in his eyes. Hello, mate. I'm his wolf. Please don't be afraid of me. I would never hurt you. It's just my human was going to lie to you, and I didn't want that to happen. That's why I am telling you that you are and you were and you will be the one and the only one woman made of us. There's so much that I want to share with you, but this human is trying hard to get his control back. I hope to see you soon. Just don't leave. Damn it. Daniel's eyes were back to his original color, but he seemed pissed at his wolf. Maybe, at the same time, Ivory was howling in happiness, knowing that we were Daniel's mate. I believe you have a lot of things to explain now, I said, folding my arms around my breast. You were getting married to my sister. So was she your mate? I asked the question, which was troubled me since our marriage, and the fact that I had to share my mate with someone else was breaking my heart, even though I didn't want to admit it. The truth was, I was jealous of his first mate. She wasn't my mate, he admitted. In fact, you are, he added. He ran his hand in his hair and released a deep breath which I didn't know he was holding since when. I never believed in mate and mate bonds. Neither I was interested in finding my mate or making anyone my Luna. It's just I was forced by my aunt, and for the sake of strengthening the pack. I didn't say no to this marriage. The truth is I never liked your sister. I should have felt bad for my sister, but I didn't. In fact, I was happy that she ran away from her own wedding, but I felt happy after all. They were not mates in the first place. And marrying someone for a convenience never works. My happiness didn't last long when the next thought came to my mind that Daniel didn't believe in mate and mate bond. Oh, but you still felt pressured to marry me because, oh damn it, how can I be pressured when I myself blackmailed you to marry you? Yes, that's true that I didn't want to marry you, but it was only because I didn't know that you're my mate. Okay. But when you did believe in mate and mate bond, then why did you blackmail to marry you? I saw him opening his mouth like a fish, but nothing came out of it for a while. It looked like he was thinking something. Because you are mine. There came his cocky answer. I am not a thing to possess. One moment you didn't give a damn about my existence, and when you found me, you claimed me as yours without my consent. My tone was a bit angry, lacked recalling about his idiotic answer that he had given to me. On top of that, you were planning to lie. He came close to me and shut my mouth by putting a hand over it. Just like I did in the morning when Aunt Emma saw them or said caught them. The only difference was that unlike me in the morning, he used his other hand too. His other hand locked both of my hands behind my back, giving me no chance to struggle. Listen to me and listen to me very carefully, Angel. Because I won't repeat myself again. This is the very first time I'm saying that I want to spend all my life with you. So can you keep the past aside and start everything fresh between us? I know you're angry and want to shout at me, but right now just nod a yes or no, he asked in a dangerously low voice. As usual, I couldn't focus on my anger because of the close proximity between us. My mind had stopped working at all. I just looked in his eyes for a while, which were keenly waiting for my answer, and nodded my head, implying a big yes. His eyes lightened up immediately, just like they were when I saw him for the first time. He removed his hand from my mouth, also losing the grip at the back. Still, our position remained unchanged. Number TBC.